Well, hello once again, everyone, and welcome to the Coach's Corner. This is me, Manny Thangadurai. That's my name. Come on, England, as always. And welcome once again to the channel. Happy to be bringing you coverage of my third quarterfinal out of four. Sadly, I wasn't available to provide you help for the third match, which was done earlier today, but I'm here for the titanic and totemic fourth one, the last quarterfinal of the four between England versus France, the three lines against Les Bleus. Sol Campbell with an interesting taunt or a troll saying that the three lions would eat the cockerel up. I wonder if he'll be proven right. And of course, at stake for the winner of this match is a semi-final against not Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal, but Morocco, who shocked Portugal earlier today 1-0 and ended the World Cup career of a certain Cristiano Ronaldo, who was seen walking off the field in tears, having come on as a 50th minute substitute, but unable to influence or change the game. And I will admit that as much as I may not be a big fan of Ronaldo compared to Messi, it was a bit of a sad sight to see. But there have been reports of several Ronaldo fans using Messi's Copa America final losses and the World Cup final loss of 2014 to try and troll him. So it's a case of whatever goes around comes around in some cases. Not too sure. But he has been a totemic figure in Portuguese football history. I still believe he will go on to earn 200 international caps, although, interestingly, he is tied with Kuwait's Badr Al-Mutawa on 196 official FIFA recognized caps. And he could earn that landmark later on in the season. Maybe not in the Nations League, but definitely in a few friendly games, certainly before the qualifiers for the European Championship start. Will we see him in the European Championships? It will remain to be seen. Any comments? We have Craig Malloy in the chat right now. And listen, Craig, if you would like to come on in, what I'm going to do is I am going to, put the link over here in the chat. This is, of course, the link for people who want to join. StreamYard.com/whiskey, Bravo, Golf, Hotel, Foxtrot, Bravo, Uniform, Quebec, Sierra, Charlie. As of now, we see both teams in the tunnel, and yeah, it's easy to say that he should have stayed on the pitch. And certainly, if he was wearing the captain's armband, I certainly believe he should have stayed a little bit longer. And especially when you compare what happened with him to the cases of Thiago Silva and Dani Alves of Brazil, both of them older than Ronaldo, who knew that they were playing their last World Cup, but who still stayed on to console their fallen teammates and also congratulate the Croatian players, I think. Maybe Cristiano should have stayed. I think the emotion just got the better of him, and it is what it is. I don't want to, put the boot into him. But again, just a reminder to Craig, you, and everyone else, the link's here in the chat. You're more than welcome to click it. And as I speak, both teams are making their way through the tunnel. It'll soon be time for the national anthems. The biggest thing to report right now, as I will share the team news, is that both sides are in fact unchanged from their previous last 16 wins. So we see that England will be starting with the same 11. That means no Marcus Rashford, but it will be Saka, Kane, and Foden up front. Jude Bellingham in the midfield alongside Jordan Henderson and Declan Rice. Usual back four. And the same 4-2-3-1 for France. Now, I will just stop sharing at the moment. Time for the national anthem. God Save the King and La Marseillaise rather. And once again, let me just present the team lineups as they're going through them on the television right now. Yep, so basically, once again, confirmation of England's lineup. They will be playing a 4-3-3. So it is a three-man midfield. Henderson, of course, will be expected to provide some extra protection for Walker when it comes to dealing with Kylian Mbappe, who will be expected to be playing on the left of a 4-2-3-1. And that midfield trio will certainly prove key, as will the front three of Harry Kane, Phil Foden, and Bukayo Saka on the right. Back four, as usual, which means no place for Kieran Trippier. Raheem Sterling has, in fact, returned to the squad. And it'll be interesting to see if he gets some time off the bench. Maybe Grealish and Rashford could come on, of course, and several other options on the bench. And there is a Brazilian referee and Brazilian linesman, so certainly he'll be trusted with the job of keeping order here. The two captains are in the middle, both teammates, of course, at Tottenham Hotspur, adding to the subterfuge, if you will. Hugo Lloris, of course, making history as his country's most capped player of all time, earning his 143rd cap tonight, going one above Marcus Thuram's father. Lilian Thuram, of course, a veteran like Didier Deschamps of the 1998 win. And unlike that team, which miserably failed to defend its title, this team has made a better fist of defending its title in 2018, despite all the injuries that have taken place. Certainly an unchanged lineup. Mbappe is a big threat on the left side of that three-man attacking midfield, but do not discount Antoine Griezmann in the center and Ousmane Dembele on the right. Olivier Giroud, of course, will be up front. He'll be expected to do the business. He is now, of course, the all-time top scorer of his team. Tchouaméni and Rabiot, the two defensive midfielders, and the defense as you were. No place, of course, for Benjamin Pavard. His place is taken by Jules Koundé. Now, Chelsea fans in the building. Come on, England. Big up, of course, to Craig AFC. Thank you all for joining in. Kickoff's not too far away. This is, of course, the third time that France and England are meeting in the World Cup. Both times England have beaten France, the most recent, of course, being in 1982. 2 goals from Brian Robson and the late Paul Mariner, sealing a 3-1 win in that tournament. So France will be kicking off in their customary blue shirts and white shorts. And England have taken the knee for a precious few seconds, and they will be starting very soon. And Griezmann tips it off, passes it back, and we are underway. And already Walker's into action, trying to take the ball off Mbappe, and he does so. It is now with Harry Maguire. And already we seem to have a bit of a stoppage. Not too sure why. Well, it's a French throw from the looks of it. It is indeed. France, of course, are attacking from right to left on the television screen right now. And it is Dembele who ends up throwing it back to Pickford. I'm not too sure why that stoppage happened. Jordan Pickford, who has been England's first choice since the 2018 World Cup, displacing Joe Hart, of course. A lot of questions as to whether he actually should be rated as one of England's greats. Certainly has the capability to pull off saves when unexpected and has done more than his bit. But in terms of ability, I'd rank him certainly a little bit lower than Joe Hart, who was, of course, dropped by the man sitting in England's dugout, Gareth Southgate. This is his third major tournament with them. Will it be a third consecutive semi-final, or will the defending champions have the measure of them? It is with Declan Rice now in the middle of the park. Sends it out on the left to Luke Shaw, who passes it back to Maguire. I wonder if he's full of his favourite baked beans tonight. Certainly with the slow release of starches being vital for athletic performance, I wouldn't put it past him to have had his share before the game. Well, at the moment, one player who looks full of beans is Theo Hernandez. Down the left finds Kylian Mbappe, number 10, who certainly put in a perfect 10 display against Poland in the second round. And a lot of talk has been made in the build-up to this game about the threat of Mbappe, but that is discounting a lot of other fine players. And now France are trying to move forward, and that is now with Dalot Upamecano, who plays with Bayern Munich. Theo Hernandez with AC Milan. Replaced his brother against Australia after Lucas Hernandez injured his knee. Was twisted around for the goal. And has certainly done his brother justice and made him proud. Well, a lot of talk about the legacy that Didier Deschamps will leave, but Saka has stolen the ball, and it's 2 against 3 right now. Kane is up in support, and that cross was just blocked from Harry Kane there. So a great moment there from Bukayo Saka, stealing that ball in the midfield and starting a run. But you would think that for a player of Saka's quality, more could have been done with that. A warning sign there for the defending champions. It is Theo Hernandez. And that's given away to Jordan Henderson, the vice-captain. Shot from Phil Foden, blocked by the defenders, though. And special mention for Raphael Varane. It was thought that his World Cup dream would be over after getting injured for Manchester United prior to selection, but he was picked for the squad, recovered in time, and is now 90 minutes away from contesting a second World Cup semi-final. I'll have to find out if he was in the squad for 2018. I'm not too sure he was, though. Certainly with his experience of winning league titles and Champions League with Real Madrid, he's certainly not a player you'd want to drop. And the Brazilian referee has allowed the play to continue, and it is Rice who sets that forward, trying to find Foden. Foden up against Koundé. Laying it back to Bellingham. Luke Shaw now, getting the better of Griezmann, and Bellingham twisting Griezmann around. This is good stuff from England so far. But Foden losing the ball, but the referee has in fact awarded a free kick to England, I believe. Yeah, Ousmane Dembele there just tripping Foden up and not really the best thing to do. So it's Luke Shaw who'll be taking this set piece. Obviously, with Trippier not starting, other players will have to pick up the slack when it comes to set pieces. But Luke Shaw's no slouch with his left foot. You always need a left-footed left back. That's my personal opinion. Sorry to all fans of Dennis Irwin, but that's the way it is. 5 minutes gone. It is England 0, France 0. Free kick from the left. Swinging in, hoping to find a teammate, but that has been headed away by, I believe it was Upamecano. And England will take this throw. So, well, it's an offside anyway, so looks as though one of the England players was a little bit too eager. It was, in fact, Kane who had wandered offside, and looks as though Maguire was marginally offside there in any case. So, Varane. Was he, in fact, a part of that? Yes, he was indeed a part of that 2018 vintage. So, Varane will be hoping to make a second successive semi-final, but he'll have his work cut out tonight against an England team which has not necessarily been firing on all cylinders, but has certainly scored many, many goals. 6 against Iran, of course, 3 against Wales, 3 against Senegal to come over here tonight. They were, of course, blanked in that goalless draw between England and the US, but this could be dangerous for England. It is Mbappe now with the cross, and Giroud went down the penalty area, but according to the referee, that was a little bit too easy. He made a bit of a meal of it. But Shaw now boots that ball away for a France throw, taken by Koundé to Chouameni, and England regained the ball, but Griezmann is able to prevent an attack. That will, however, be an English throw. So, cagey opening first 7 minutes so far. And definitely all to do for England at this point. All to do for both teams, it must be said. And so far in these opening 7 minutes, Mbappe hasn't really quite had a sniff. He has had the ball and had the chance to try and do something, but not really been able to make the most of his opportunity. But you just think that with a bit more patience, we might see Mbappe come to life. Maguire. Stones. Maguire now. And that is sent all the way long. Bukayo Saka was not going to get that, and that will be a goal kick. Any more comments? Let's be having all of you. Diego C. Palace. Is it coming home for Christmas? Well, that could be the hope. We'll have to see. Beating France is just, of course, part of that. The winner, of course, will be playing the Atlas Lions in the semi-final. The 3 lines against the Atlas Lions. Ooh. To be a fly in that lion's den, that would be epic. Hugo Lloris, who has been a bit of questionable form for Tottenham Hotspur this season. Made some good saves, but not exactly the best in terms of decision-making as a goalkeeper, but still very much trusted by France. Pretty much been the undisputed number 1 for quite a long time, ever since, in fact, the 2010 World Cup. So this is his, and it was in the penalty area, but that should be cleared away. And it is with Rabiot now. Theo Hernandez, back to Rabiot, wearing that number 14 jersey, made famous, of course, by Thierry Henry at club level, although for the national team he wore 12. Make that make sense. Griezmann now down the right. Griezmann against Bellingham. And some good defensive work by Bellingham, but that will be a French corner. So, first corner of the game. And certainly a fair tackle. And it will be Antoine Griezmann with a left-footed in-swinger on the right, hoping to try and swing that in and maybe get a teammate on that. And the referee from Brazil, just find out his name, Wilton Pereira Sampaio. No relation, of course, to Cesar Sampaio, former Brazil midfielder and part of the 1998 squad, which reached the final, only to be crushed by Les Bleus at the Saint-Denis Stadium in Paris. Griezmann with the corner. And that is easily cleared. So that corner didn't really have the height it needed to really cause any problems, and that will be an English throw. Just crossed the 10-minute mark. It is England 0, France 0. And obviously with both teams unchanged, I should have no excuse for not getting the names of the players right. I'm going to make sure I get it right this time, definitely. Certainly an England-France clash has a lot of spice and romance attached to it. Certainly no amount of love lost between these two teams. Griezmann, that is Dembele. And the first shot on target, which was inevitably a tame header on target. Terrific work down the right by both Griezmann and Dembele, but in the end, it found Giroud, who couldn't really get the header he wanted. Sort of fell to the floor as he made that header, directed that at Jordan Pickford, who claimed that quite easily. Rice, back to Stones. And just as in the, I want to say the, I think it was the Netherlands-Argentina game, or maybe Croatia against Brazil, even Stevens with regard to possession, 44% each and 12 in contest. So definitely very cagey indeed, but we've had the first header on target and the first save that Pickford's had to make. Deschamps has, of course, left his legacy by being the second player after Franz Beckenbauer to captain and manage a World Cup winning team. And so, will his international managerial career with France continue after this tournament? It will remain to be seen. Certainly, if France do go on to defend their title, they will certainly seal their place in the annals of football as one of the all-time great sides. Never mind the fact that they weren't able to win the Euros in between, unlike the class of 98 rather. Theo Hernandez, who's certainly come up forward now and enjoys his role going forward. And that is with Varane now, the Manchester United and former Real Madrid defender, of course. Ousmane Dembele. Back to Varane. Upamecano. Hernandez. Varane. Sent forward to Griezmann. Rabiot. The French do have some space, but the Englishmen are able to sort of zoom in almost quickly. But it's interesting to see how France have been able to make space. But this is some good play from Declan Rice, who has freed Harry Kane. And it's Kane up against Varane. And a little bit of a retreat, but Rice passes it back. Jordan Henderson, the vice-captain. Walker. Maguire. And that is with Shaw now. Back to Maguire. Declan Rice. John Stones. Rice to Walker now. Walker finds Henderson on the right. Stones now. Rice again. And this is good patient play from England, who have certainly learnt from the likes of the Netherlands and Croatia. I think many of these European teams have opted for a more patient style of play, but that's cost them now because Rabiot has intercepted that. He's got Mbappe on his left. It is passed to Mbappe, but in a sort of an attempted cross goes begging, and that was Dembele was never going to get on the end of that, really. So this is a good play from Rabiot, who has certainly been an influential member of the team right now, keeping Matteo Guendouzi, of course, out of the lineup. And I'm not too sure what Mbappe was thinking, maybe caught in two minds as to whether he should try a shot or a cross. But Dembele was never going to get on the end of that, and that is a goal kick. Of course, the Netherlands' patient style would have been seen by many people as a little bit too passive, and Argentina were able to dominate them for 75 minutes, but then one final throw of the dice from Van Gaal paid off with Wout Weghorst, of course, scoring twice, including that breathlessly late equaliser. And the Netherlands could have perhaps stolen it, but once again, penalties was their downfall, just as it was in 2014 when Louis Van Gaal last coached Argentina. And Messi, of course, was in that Argentinian team, as was, I'm sure, Angel Di Maria, who came on as a substitute. Henderson now. What a tournament Henderson's had. Interesting to see how he was benched for Euro 2020 in favour of Calvin Phillips, who enjoyed that productive partnership with Declan Rice. But ever since being brought into the starting lineup, he's certainly been one of the more influential players in the team, as has Bukayo Saka. Claim for a foul there by Dalot Upamecano, but the referee isn't interested and play can continue. And it is with Mbappe down the left. Upamecano again. Mbappe clears that tackle from Declan Rice to Dembele on the right. Griezmann. Tchouaméni. A shot from Tchouaméni, and France are ahead. Well, it might have been coming home. Butola, well, I'm not too sure what that means, but welcome to the channel. But it's not coming home just yet. And when you focus a bit too much on one player, you end up ignoring the others, certainly at your peril. And once again, let me just change the ticker. Not exactly an expected goal scorer, but he's now put France ahead, and all of a sudden, England are in trouble. Terrific work down the left once again between Mbappe and Upamecano. Mbappe basically doing the Messi role, finding the space, passing it to Dembele there. Dembele and Mbappe were drawing the defenders out, as was Griezmann. And the shot came in from outside the penalty area. Bellingham tried to block it, but it went straight between his legs. And could Jordan Pickford have perhaps done better? Well, maybe he was unsighted. But what a sweet strike that was, and that has put France 1-0 ahead. The Three Lions are in danger. I mean, not in danger yet, but they're certainly under the cosh right now. And how they respond will certainly be key. They've not gone behind all tournaments. But now this is the first time they've gone behind. How do they respond? Well, down the left is with Phil Foden, Luke Shaw, Declan Rice. I keep saying Ben Foden. I'm going to have to stop that. I thought I'd have learnt my lesson. John Stones now. Walker. Maguire sending it forward. Finds Henderson. Saka on the right. Another one who's had a terrific tournament. 3 goals already for him. And certainly preferred up front to the likes of Marcus Rashford. Foul by Adrien Rabiot. And that will be a free kick outside the area. And this is certainly a free kick which the likes of Luke Shaw and others will fancy. The only question is, of course, who will take it. As mentioned, with Kieran Trippier being dropped and not being considered for the right-back position, it means that someone else will have to pick up the slack with regard to set pieces. Normally, it could have been Marcus Rashford, who, of course, scored a peach of a free kick against Wales in the group stage. But it looks as though it could be Luke Shaw who's standing over it. Certainly possesses a terrific left foot. And if he's able to bend that over the wall, he could certainly trouble Hugo Lloris. So, France against England, Manchester United against Tottenham Hotspur. There's a Henderson standing over that. Stones has now gone into the wall. It looks as though it will be Luke Shaw to take this, and certainly the angle suits him perfectly. It's a free kick from the right to be taken left-footed. David Beckham, of course, sitting in the box with a few other personalities. I'm sure if Shaw were to score, Beckham would jump for joy. Well, it's Jordan Henderson who runs. Luke Shaw to take it. And it goes through the wall, but straight into the arms of Hugo Lloris, and that chance goes begging. So, 20 minutes have just gone. It is England 0, France 1. Sort of goes through the wall there with John Stones doing the work of bending down and allowing it to go through, but Hugo Lloris was there, well positioned, and dealt with that perfectly. We certainly didn't deal with that clearance perfectly because he's sort of shanked that out for a French throw, but at the moment, France are now 1-0 up. They have the ascendancy, and it just goes to show, with this French team, you cannot focus on Kylian Mbappe. Of course, Mbappe did do some pretty good work, but there are some other players like Dembele and Griezmann who can certainly contribute. A lot of focus might have been on Olivier Giroud, but Aurélien Tchouameni, who joined Real Madrid, you would never put your money on him to score, and he just did. What a peach of a strike that was. And how England will recover will determine the course of this half and potentially the match. Bellingham to Walker. John Stones being harried at the moment, and Griezmann making uses of himself, but eventually it falls to Henderson, who gets it to Saka on the right, and a lovely through ball to Harry Kane, but Lloris is there to smother the danger, chipped over by Jordan Henderson with Lloris off his line, but that couldn't find his teammate, and the chance went begging over there. Terrific save from Hugo Lloris, but how about that for some fine play from Jordan Henderson? I was just talking about how he had been benched in favor of Calvin Phillips for Euro 2020, and many were the people who were thinking that this could be his last tournament, and maybe he was sort of going away quietly into the night. But in this tournament, he's been raging against the dying of the light. And certainly been a raging bull for England, of course. Scored against, I believe it was Senegal, and has certainly been very influential. Although Harry Kane might be the captain, Henderson is regarded as the statesman of the team, if you will. Certainly has experience of leading his club side, Liverpool, to a Champions League trophy. Unlike Kane, of course, who was on the losing side in that very same match. Mbappe trying to feed Theo Hernandez, but that is blocked, and it's now with Jude Bellingham now. Henderson, and that is put out for an England throw. So the pace is hotting up. We're just past the midway point. And a terrific through ball there from Saka, finding Harry Kane. Terrific save from the all-time cap record holder for France now. Certainly knew his Tottenham teammate inside out and smothered it perfectly, but Henderson was on hand to try to chip that over Lloris. Couldn't find the teammate, though, so that could have been a goal. And so England is showing that they are not to be messed with, but France still, at least marginally, of course, have the upper hand. And the only stat that matters is that they are, of course, 1-0 up. Aurélien Tchouameni with that goal on 17 minutes. Maguire. Stones. Sent back to Declan Rice by Harry Kane, who was in the centre. Foden. Back to Rice, who sends it forward. Finds Harry Kane. And does he set Jude Bellingham free? No, he doesn't. And Varane passes it back to Lloris, who quite comfortably in the end sends that up the field, left-footed. It's with Harry Maguire now. Declan Rice. And was that captain play by Saka? Yes, it was. But it is back with France through Theo Hernandez, who's had a fine season, of course, with AC Milan. But it is with Harry Kane. And is that a penalty? No, the referee waves play on. Well, clearly Harry Kane is not happy. And if that goes to VAR, then we could have a decision on our hands. But Kane up against Upamecano. And you know what? Kane might actually have a bit of a shout. It will remain to be seen what VAR will think of that. And I think that could very well be sent to the VAR decision room. But, yep, it has been sent to VAR for a possible penalty. And if, of course, it is deemed that it will be a penalty, then Harry Kane will almost certainly have a chance to score. And I know that Wayne Rooney is still England's leading scorer, but Harry Kane did score earlier on in the tournament. They're still checking. As of this match, he has 52 goals. If he scores from this penalty, if it's awarded, it will be goal number 53. Well, apparently they've checked it. The check is over, and there is no penalty. So play continues. I think what probably swayed the minds of the decision makers was that it wasn't really a deliberate contact. I think Upamecano was going for the ball, but just couldn't quite get it. And it would have been probably a soft penalty had that been awarded. So France could break now through Varane. Mbappe. Who passes it back to Hernandez. Chouameni, the goal scorer. Varane. Koundé, who's done a good job in keeping Benjamin Pavard out of the side. Pavard, of course, was a key player in that 2018 team and scored the goal of the tournament against Argentina in the second round, but since the first game has pretty much had his place taken. Upamecano, back to Varane. Koundé, sending it forward left-footed. And that goes straight to Jordan Pickford in the England goal. Rolls it out to John Stones. Declan Rice, who passes it back to Harry Maguire. Stones, Rice, Stones, Maguire. Sends it forward, trying to find Henderson, which he does. And France need to be careful not to give Henderson and Saka too much space because they can certainly prove to be dangerous. And Rabiot certainly had the right idea, but couldn't get the control. It is with Bukayo Saka in the penalty area. Gets it to Henderson, attempted through ball, but that is blocked and sent away. But it is back with England. Declan Rice. Will he try a shot from outside the area? Nope. Lays it off to Kane. And what a save from his Tottenham Hotspur teammate and the French cap holder Hugo Lloris. That shot was certainly on target, certainly put his laces through that. And there might be some claims of possible handball there because that took a deflection. Well, there's a corner and it will be taken left-footed by Ben Foden on England's right. He'll hope to swing that in and maybe find a teammate. So France's goal is now under siege again. I'm pretty certain that deflected off someone's hand, in which case that would have been a free kick for sure. But in any case, it's Foden with the corner in the penalty area. And there's a huge melee going on right now. And eventually, I believe it's Rabiot who clears that away. It's all happening out here at the Al Bayt Stadium. And boy, both teams are taking Al Bayt off each other. Bellingham now in the centre. Gets it to Henderson, who will look for another through ball to Saka. Instead, passes it back to Kyle Walker. John Stones. Bellingham. Saka. Blocked by Griezmann, and it doesn't find Bellingham. But it is back with Saka now, who will try to take it forward. And that is sent behind for what is a goal kick, and Saka and Foden are protesting, saying that that should be a corner. Well, you cannot accuse this England team of not trying. Just gone past the half-hour mark, and there's been some terrific frenetic action. Not in the least this goal, which was hit at a maximum speed of 108 kilometers an hour and nestled in the goal at 71 an hour. Wasn't so much the spin on the ball that distracted Pickford, but probably the fact that he might have been unsighted. And Saka claiming that he was fouled by Upamecano there. Bit of a frustrating time for the Arsenal winger. Incorrigibly left-footed, but does have ability with his right foot and is often played as a right-sided winger. I would personally like to see him on the left, but hey, I'm not the manager. Throw in to be taken by Kyle Walker. Sends that forward. And this certainly has a lot of shades of these epic Five Nations or Six Nations clashes between England and France over the years. Always feisty affairs. Serge Blanco against Will Carling from the early 90s back in the day. And then, of course, more titanic battles in the years ahead. Martin Johnson against the likes of Fabian Golfi and Rafael Ibanez and company. Foul there on Kane by Rabiot. And England are able to get possession and work with that. So Rabiot's been a bit of a nuisance, but he has been rather aggressive. And I think England are going to have to do really well to try to nullify him, because for all of the attacking talent, battles in games like this are always won in midfield. Just taking a look at the comments on the BBC Sport website, a lot of complaints about the VAR team and the referee, some pretty poor decisions that have gone against England. But that's a poor giveaway from Bellingham, and that is with Mbappe now, who's on his own. It's Mbappe against Walker, but Walker wins that battle quite easily. Gets it to Saka on the right, and that will be a foul by Antoine Griezmann on Saka, and that will be a France free kick. Griezmann is, of course, playing a much deeper role. So far had more touches than any other player on his team and not misplaced any of his passes. And so his battle between himself and Bellingham will certainly prove key. He and Rabiot are expected to play a very big role today. Sent forward by Maguire, hoping to find Saka, but that is headed away. It's sent forward by Walker to Henderson. Saka now. Saka has space, but he's also got some players surrounding him. The interplay between Saka and Henderson has been wonderful. And does he have room to shoot? No. Theo Hernandez tackles him, and the referee waves play on. It is with Olivier Giroud, who has now come back a little bit deep into the centre. Dembele on the right. Dembele against Shaw. Who's Shaw to win? Well, Dembele goes into retreat, getting that to Chouameni. Griezmann. Chouameni. Rabiot. Mbappe. Hernandez. Back to Mbappe. And sort of becomes sedate a little bit. Upamecano back to Raphael Varane. Griezmann. Back to Varane. Dembele. Nice ball forward to Griezmann. Griezmann against Bellingham now. And Bellingham gets the better of him and doesn't concede a corner this time. He does end up passing it straight to Varane. Upamecano now. And this is more patient build-up play from the French, who know that they can find gaps in the England midfield and defence if they're able to. Rabiot to Koundé. And it's back with Varane, who opts to pass it back to his captain, Hugo Lloris. Chouameni. Varane. Koundé. Griezmann now. Some good interplay going on the right. Across the field, hoping to find Hernandez, which he does quite brilliantly. And Saka puts that out of play for a French throw. So already Saka now has to come back and do some defensive work on the right side. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not too sure that being on the right is the best for him. But again, Southgate and Arteta know better than I do, supposedly. Chouameni. His battle against Henderson will also be key. The two number 8s. Lloris now. Sends that forward. Chips it, rather. But England should reclaim that easily, and it is now with Phil Foden. Fouled by Griezmann, and that will be a free kick. So Griezmann has been certainly effective, but also a little bit too aggressive there. And having said that, it has proved effective because Foden hasn't had too much of a sniff yet. Stones. Maguire. Taking his time. Henderson. Stones. Henderson. Back to Maguire. Had Giroud closing in on him, but passed that to Shaw, and that was dealt with. Now with Varane, who can certainly clear that away. And certainly that defensive partnership in the centre between Varane and Upamecano has proved quite key to France not being troubled too much in defence. And Theo Hernandez has been outstanding at left back ever since replacing his brother. You could say that he was defending his honour the way he came on for him against France and proceeded to run riot. What a story that was. Maguire sending it forward. Does it find Henderson? No, it doesn't. A bit too fast for him, but Henderson applauds the effort from his teammate there. And you can certainly see that both teams have squad unity high among their agenda, as we just see highlights of that goal. It might have been the spin which did for Pickford in the end, because it was shot straight at him but deviated to Pickford's right. Now, Jordan Pickford happens to be strongly left-handed, so his right side is his weakest side. A little bit like when Joe Hart, who ironically is left-handed himself, had his left side as his weakest side. Go figure. Foul on Mbappe, and that will be a free kick. Henderson there getting in on the act. And it looks as though it will be Antoine Griezmann, left-footed from the left, to try and swing that maybe into the penalty area. He certainly looked good this tournament for France and has been a more than key player for Didier Deschamps over the past few years, and certainly in 2008. Well, it was a short free kick, hoping to find someone in the box. It is with Theo Hernandez, and that resulting shot by Mbappe almost makes one think that he was on the rugby field instead of the football field. Wrong sport, son. Wrong sport. So a shorter free kick and no offside there. And I think the pressure from Henderson running back in probably meant that he wasn't able to get the shot quite on target. So coming up to the 40-minute mark, it is still England 0, France 1. France do have the advantage, but England are certainly fighting back and fighting back strongly. Phil Foden sends it to Bukayo Saka on the right. Up against Hernandez. Back with Foden. Stones now. Foden to Henderson. Passes it to Foden on the right. Back to Henderson. Foden again. Henderson again. Another through pass, finding Bellingham, who's forced outside the penalty area. But it is with Saka now. And we know about the quality of his left foot. Hoping to find Harry Kane, but all Harry Kane can do is head it back into the penalty area. And that will be cleared by Varane. And Rabiot heads that away. It's Dembele against Stones, and Maguire is there to clean it up. And Dembele was deemed to have fouled Stones in the process, but England do have possession anyway. Rice. Maguire. Rice. Foden. Bellingham. Back to Rice. And France can break away now. It is with Griezmann, who finds Upamecano. Griezmann now. Under pressure from Henderson, but he relieves that with a pass to Koundé, who will now run down the right. Dembele. Across to Rabiot in the centre. Now, I'll come back and check on some of the comments in a minute, but talking about the receptions between midfield and defensive lines, Saka and Henderson have 21 between them, 12 for Saka. Outstanding stuff from those two. The combination between them has been terrific. But France are now attacking down the right, and Dembele wins the throw. Off Bellingham. Throw's taken. Back with Dembele. Finds Tchouaméni, passes it back to Upamecano. Upamecano sends it forward to Theo Hernandez on the left. Passing it back to Rabiot. Mbappe's gone forward. It is with Mbappe now, trying to get around Stones, and the referee waves play on. So at least there's some consistency. The referee is allowed the game to flow and has only really blown his whistle for any really bad fouls. But there is a part of me that thinks that tackle by Upamecano on Kane should have been penalised with a penalty. We do have a booking now. A foul on John Stones and Antoine Griezmann, who's been a little bit... actually, it was Kyle Walker who was fouled there. And Griezmann, who's been a little bit too aggressive with his fouling, now goes into the books. So he's going to have to be careful. He's not on a yellow card, but if he does continue to be a bit too aggressive and receives a second one, a little bit like Shadira did for Morocco earlier on today, it'll lead to a red. It's with Bellingham now. Maguire, back to Bellingham. Gets it to Rice. And that was a nice tackle there by Dembele. And Chouameni now frees Dembele to try and run down the right. Doesn't have that much in terms of opposition from Bellingham, but as I say that, Bellingham tries to tackle him. Doesn't work. Gets it back to Chouameni. Rabiot, Chouameni. And they're all starting to come up now. Koundé. Chouameni. Rabiot. Varane. Dembele on the right, trying to lay that forward. Is that in play? Nope. That will be out for an England throw. And so we're coming up to the end of the 44th minute, which means that there will be one more minute to play, plus any stoppages, of which I'm assuming there will be no more than 2. No real controversial moments in this game so far. Walker to Saka, back to Walker. To Declan Rice. Bellingham, sending it forward to Luke Shaw. And obviously trying to set Foden on his way. In the end, it's Bellingham who receives that on the left. Bellingham against Koundé, and Bellingham's doing well. Gets the cross in, but Varane is there to tidy things up. And France can start to clear their lines now. And ever since the early exchanges, when there had been a few misplaced passes by France, which have been intercepted, France have been a little bit more serene. As I say that, there was an intercepted pass, a really aggressive tackle there by Upamecano. England now have the ball through Declan Rice. So we're going to find out very soon how much added time there will be. Any more comments? Cheeky. Remember, there are 45 minutes left. He who sings last sings the loudest and the longest. 4 minutes of time probably makes sense because there have been more than a few stoppages, I guess. And it's with Maguire now, who will try and send it forward. He sends it across the field, hoping to find Bukayo Saka, which he does. Saka up against Hernandez. To Walker, who's come rushing forward. Finds Harry Kane. Saka. Kyle Walker, of course, played with Harry Kane at Tottenham. Now, of course, on the books at Manchester City. Harry Maguire. Saka. And Saka had the ball sacked off him. Chouameni. Mbappe. And this is interesting stuff now. What can the Frenchman do? And a foul there from Saka, but the referee plays advantage. Dembele, Griezmann. Back to Dembele with Koundé on the wing. Varane, or Varane, I should say. Ugh. Back to Varane from Koundé. Rabiot. Takes that pass to Upamecano and finds Hernandez. Mbappe now. Bit of sideways, backwards passing going on, but obviously they're trying to build up their play. the French. Upamecano back to his central defensive partner, Varane. Upamecano. Sending it forward, but that's not going to find anyone, and Kyle Walker will allow that to go out of play for a goal kick. So we've had 2 minutes of the 4 stoppage time already played, and I think Southgate will probably tell his team to try to get their formation a little bit better, try and be a bit more aggressive and take a lot more initiative, because sometimes patience can devolve into passiveness, as we found out with the Netherlands when they played against Argentina. And I will talk a bit more about that in the halftime break. And it is with Stones now, who sends that to Maguire. Sends that forward to Luke Shaw, but it's back with Maguire. Sending that a long way forward, hoping to find Luke Shaw. And that goes off the head of Jules Koundé, and that will be an England corner. So possibly a sting to England's tail at the end of the first half. We will see. It'll be a corner. And it looks as though it will be Phil Foden to take this. Left-footed away swinger from the left. Probably try and find another teammate. Billed as England's next great young hope. And possibly a dead ringer for Paul Gascoigne, although, if you ask me, I think Scotland's Lyndon Dykes looks a lot more like Gazza. Foden with the corner. And that is pretty much harmless, goes out of everyone's way. Kept back in play by Jude Bellingham. It is with Theo Hernandez, who's able to maneuver past Saka, and the referee will blow for an injury to Theo Hernandez. His brother, of course, ended up getting injured and falling out of the tournament with a knee injury. Be rather sad if the ankle is what does for Theo. Clashing with his fellow number 22, Bellingham there, and coming off the worst. Not really a foul in that sense of the word, because I think Bellingham got the ball, but certainly painful. And that will certainly add more than a few seconds to the time added on. Hernandez gets up, walks a bit gingerly, and given that it's very, very close to the half-time whistle, I think he will be allowed to just shake it off. Of course, if he were to be forced off, it'll be interesting to see who France could bring on in his place. Pavard obviously is a right back, but maybe he could come on. Disasi is a centre back, and more than a few options. The likes of Camavinga could possibly come on as a defender, and that is the halftime whistle. And the story of the game right now is that France are 1-0 up through Aurélien Tchouameni, a terrific strike in the 17th minute, which put France ahead. Certainly bamboozled Jordan Pickford in the England goal, who wasn't unsighted, who did see that, but just couldn't get a hand to it. England had a few chances to get back in it, but I mean, they've tested Hugo Lloris through Harry Kane. The French captain coming up clutch with a fine save. But at half-time, it's France who have the bragging rights, and it's England who have 45 minutes to save their tournament. So, back to the comments once again. Here's the link. It's in the chat. If any of you are watching on YouTube, please click the link and come and join in. Let's be having you, as the policeman would say back in the UK. So, hard to say, really. I mean, of course, the only stat that matters, of course, is this stat right here. France are 1-0 up. And they've certainly looked on the balance of play to have the better of the exchanges. Certainly, Giroud in the penalty area with that weak header was the first to test Pickford, and the warning signs were there. And again, as I've said, it really goes to show that with this French team, you focus too much on one player and ignore the others, that will be at your peril. So teams are going to have to do their homework to beat this French team. The only question is, are there any players in the England team who we could possibly say have had weak games? I think Phil Foden, for the most part, hasn't really been able to get into the game that much, and that should be, of course, a credit to the likes of Koundé and Varane, and to some extent maybe Chouameni, who sort of kept him quiet a bit. Saka has certainly been in the game quite a lot. Kane, of course, has seen more than his share of the action. Rice and Henderson have certainly been quite influential, but Bellingham, hard to say really, because he hasn't really been at his, dynamic best, and we've seen him certainly play a lot better earlier on in the tournament. But I think on England's left with Foden and Bellingham, they've pretty much been kept quiet. It's down the right where England have had most of their threat, and of course back on the left, Luke Shaw's been the one who's been trying to make things happen. So it could very well be that Foden could be brought off for Marcus Rashford. Grealish could definitely come on for Saka later on in the game if and when he gets tired. And I wonder if Sterling might be asked to come on instead of taking the and ending up taking the place of Bellingham. Of course, if those three substitutions are made for those three players, England will, of course, have the full 1 to 11 on the field at the same time. No mean coincidence that, but I'm not too sure that Southgate will focus on being that neat with regard to the numbers. Of course, earlier on last season, when Burnley was still in the Premier League, Sean Dyche played a perfect 1-2-11, a 4-4-2 against Jordan Henderson's Liverpool at Anfield. So not too sure we'll see that again, but we'll see how that goes. And again, Goal, of course, have published a terrific article about Jordan Henderson, who has been good today, who has certainly been one of the players who's tried to make things happen. And certainly his partnership with Jude Bellingham has been quite influential. And that photo of their celebration after Henderson scored against Senegal with Bellingham providing the assist, certainly one of the more iconic moments. Very much the elder statesman. It was expected by a lot of people, including yours truly, that this could be his last World Cup and he probably wouldn't get that many minutes to play. But ever since coming on, far from going quietly into the night, he's been raging against the dying of the light. And certainly provided a lot of light of his own through his displays in the midfield. It could still very well be his last tournament because once Calvin Phillips comes back to full fitness, it will be expected that he will be more of a fixture for England in the days ahead. But you never know. I mean, maybe this tournament could give Henderson the lease of life he needs. So it will be interesting to see, again, what type of substitutions Southgate makes. The big criticism of him is that he's taken a bit too long to make his substitutions. It'll be interesting, of course, to see what Sol Campbell and Robert Perez will be saying at halftime. I'm just going to mute my screen and find out what they will be saying. Yeah, I mean, as much as I would love to listen to them, and it's terrific that on the channel that I'm watching, we've got three members of the Invincible squad of 2004, Robert Perez, Sol Campbell, and of course, Gilberto Silva. And they've also got Wayne Rooney, who is back in Qatar doing some media work, I believe. But just running through the goal again, positioning, of course, has been immaculate. The man marking for Chouameni has been non-existent. And it was more of a shot out of instinct, really, but he knew that Bellingham was closing in on him. I think the timing was pretty much spot on, sending it right through Bellingham's legs and past Jordan Pickford. I think he was able to get his laces through that and get quite a bit of spin on that. And again, there will be some doubts about Pickford. Maybe he could have gotten down a bit earlier. But France have not been without good fortune. Certainly some of their tackles have been quite aggressive. And you could see the joy on Didier Deschamps' face. He'll know how much that goal would mean. And as for Southgate, I will say that certainly with his decision to... No, I'm not fuming, son. I'm a little bit peeved at some of the decisions that haven't gone our way, but, it is what it is. And it looks like there's no Gilberto Silva. It's just Perez and Campbell, and of course Rooney over there on video. But interesting that that was Chouameni's second ever goal for France, his first at the World Cup, and what a time to score. Yeah, they're showing some highlights now about the penalty. I mean, actually, this was the chance that Kane had, which was smothered. Brilliant initiative there from Henderson to try and chip it over, but he chipped it over, but couldn't find a teammate. And I think certainly that challenge could have been a nailed-on penalty, but maybe on second thought it might have been a bit too soft. We've seen those given, though. We've seen those given. No, it's not Sky Sports, mate. It's the Coach's Corner, and I'm not going to say your name, but Raymond, welcome to the channel, and good to have you along. If it were Sky Sports, I'd be having someone commentating with me, but it is what it is. I'm certainly no Martin Tyler, and thank goodness for that. But I think there's going to be a lot of talk about how England have not been able to take advantage of their chances, and certainly the French defending has been spot on at the moment. But I think that's it for the analysis, and not too long from now we will have the second half. Surprisingly, the break in between halves is not really that long. I think they'll probably just have enough time to maybe get some Gatorade down their throats and just have a bit of a chat about what needs to be done. And Southgate will have to make up his mind quickly. Does he bring on some substitutions at half-time, or does he maybe wait for another 10 or 20 minutes? Once again, this is the link to the chat. You want to join in and have your say? Just click the link or copy and paste it into your browser. StreamYard.com/whiskey, Bravo, Golf, Hotel, Foxtrot, Bravo, Uniform, Quebec, Sierra, Charlie. And well, I think you know why no one's really willing to say that, Mr. Pissed. But nice to know you had a good curry for dinner. Was it a Madras or a Vindaloo? I'm always more into a Madras. Vindaloo's a little bit too sour for me. I have cooked a pork Vindaloo once for my sister and my brother-in-law, but it's always got to be a meat Madras for me. You know, the spices complement the meat perfectly. And I'm sure you'll know about the song Vindaloo by Fat Les, of course. I never really got into that. As far as World Cup music is concerned, nothing can ever beat World in Motion. Although I did like the Euro 88 number all the way. And there have been one or two others. No, I'm good, mate. You enjoy your curry. If you got some leftovers, that is. Certainly good for some sandwiches on Sunday morning or afternoon. Right, so back to the game. As far as France are concerned, they don't really need to do that much in terms of worrying because they are 1-0 up, but certainly they're going to look to try and make a few changes later on to try and manage the game. I think a potential weak point could very well be Rabiot, who has been quite influential, but also a little bit too clumsy at times. Griezmann as well has been a little bit too aggressive in a way, and he has been booked. So If he gets a second booking and gets sent off, it will be backs to the wall for the French team. Someone like I'm thinking of someone like maybe a Marcus Thuram or Kingsley Coman could come on later on to provide a bit more impetus in the attack. Yusuf Fofana maybe in defense. Can't look too far beyond. Maybe Pavard or Disasi could come on to sort of tighten things up. Saliba could make an appearance, maybe. Guendouzi could replace Rabiot as a protection. But apart from that, there's really nothing much to talk about with the French team. I think they're just going to continue as they were. It's England who might need to make the changes because, of course, they are 45 minutes away from going out of the tournament. And, of course, remember, the winner of this tournament will play Morocco in the semi-finals, not Portugal. Morocco, once again, putting in a terrific performance to outlast Portugal. A goal from Youssef En-Nesyri in the first half, out-jumping the Portuguese goalkeeper, Diogo Costa, who quite frankly committed a blunder. And the Atlas Lions held on, even with their captain having to go off injured and one of their players getting sent off for two very quick bookable offences. And the scenes, again, the contrast was only too clear. A dejected Cristiano Ronaldo walking off, not even willing to face the media, perform his responsibilities as Portugal captain, leaving that to Pepe and Bruno Fernandes. And the Moroccans, in stark contrast, dancing for joy, celebrating with their supporters and with some of their family members, a sight to behold. And of course, the other semi-final will feature Luka Modric and Lionel Messi as Croatia take on Argentina. Certainly with all the feel of an El Clasico match back in Spain, Barcelona versus Real Madrid. Both those talismen had their dreams extended by a further game thanks to the lottery of a penalty shootout, but one of their dreams will end next week, and that will be on a Tuesday, and we will look forward to bringing you that on the Coach's Corner. And that will certainly be a game to savour, unlike the Argentina-Netherlands game, which quite frankly descended into an absolute brawl. 17 yellow cards dished out, a post-game red card for Denzel Dumfries. It was not a sight to behold. Difficult to say because some of those players will certainly look at the French team and think that they may be a bit too strong, but I'm sure Walid Regragui will have a plan for them. But we are now back with France against England, and it will be Jude Bellingham to kick England off very soon. No changes made by either manager, but what happens in these next 45 minutes will determine the course of the match and potentially England's campaign. And England are off now. Just kicked off, trying to play it forward through Henderson. Kyle Walker now. Henderson back to Walker. Back to John Stones. Harry Maguire. Griezmann was running at him, but Maguire spotted that danger quite early. And it is now back with Jordan Pickford. As usual, I still believe, come on England. But we're up against it. Luke Shaw. Bellingham now, down the left. He's got Dembele with him, and the referee, well, I think Bellingham is down at the moment, so the referee should be stopping play. And that he's brought out the card, and looks as though Dembele will be booked because that was a bit of a meaty challenge there. Well, he certainly went to get the ball, but he also took out Bellingham in the process. Certainly took Al-Bayt out of Bellingham, if you will. And that's France's second booking. And England have a corner. Phil Foden on the left-footed away swinger. And that swung a little bit back in, hoping to find a teammate. Bellingham! And Was that a save by Lloris, or did that go over the bar? I think it probably might have been a bit too high for the France captain. Shaw controlling that, laying it off for Bellingham, and I think, well, Lloris actually did get a hand to that, and it is a corner, so another top save from the France captain. What a way to mark your record-breaking appearance tonight. Foden again, a left-footed in-swinger this time from the right. High, headed down, and somehow Lloris is able to get that. Harry Maguire up there using his head. And certainly it was a fine corner from Foden, certainly high and swinging back in. And I think it was Declan Rice over there who was trying to get on the end of that. A replay of that shot from Bellingham on target. Certainly you could say straight at Lloris, but he still had to make the save, and it was nestling under him had he not got his fingertips to that. So for all the criticism of Hugo Lloris's form at Tottenham, he's been spot on tonight, and certainly proving key to France's defence of their World Cup title. Adrien Rabiot, Jules Koundé, sending it forward to Dembele, who passes it back to Upamecano. And Upamecano nearly lost that, but he gained that back. Jordan Henderson there doing some pretty good work. That is a foul by Bukayo Saka on Upamecano, and that will be a France free kick. Chouameni, Varane, Upamecano, Hernandez sending it forward. Rabiot, and that is with Mbappe. He's got Henderson and Walker sticking to him like glue, and obviously, well, I think Henderson's fouled Mbappe, and that wasn't really the decision that Henderson wanted, but we're going to take a look at the replay here, and you can see that Henderson can have no complaints. Delightful little step over from Mbappe, and Henderson pleading his innocence, but the referee saying, sorry, Jordan, mate, I saw that. So it will be a free kick to be taken by there's no one here named Abdul. I can tell you that much. It'll be a free kick to be taken by Griezmann from the left-footed, hoping to swing that maybe in. And he was looking for the head of Rabiot, but Captain Kane cleared that. Kane certainly proved himself able. Koundé. Back to Hernandez, who passes it back all the way to Hugo Lloris. Sends that forward. And there's an offside there against Giroud, who hasn't had a sniff tonight and could very well be hooked off later on. Shaw. Maguire. Stones. Still with Stones. Passes it to Maguire. Luke Shaw now, who can possibly send it forward if he can. Opts to send it back to Maguire, his club teammate. Stones. A back four made in Manchester. The right side all City, the left side all United. Declan Rice. John Stones now from Kyle Walker. And Stones is coming forward. He finds Henderson on the right. Long since man, it's in the penalty area through Saka. Can find a through ball, but Upamecano is there to block that. But it goes back in, a shot from Henderson, and that's also blocked. And France can clear their lines. Mbappe sending it forward. Finds Giroud, but that was a little bit of a clumsy effort there. Wasn't expecting the ball to come at him at such pace. And France's all-time record goal scorer has been kept very quiet tonight. And as I said, he could very well be hooked up. But at the moment, it is Saka sending it through to Bellingham. Saka now. And should that be a penalty? Yes, the referee points to the spot. And it's a penalty for England. And you can see how much that means to England's players. So a chance for England to get back in it. Brilliant work by Bukayo Saka down the right. Saka was always going to be a threat going forward. Tchouaméni, the goal scorer, going from hero to zero at that moment. And of course, all eyes will be on Captain Harry Kane. Will Kane be able to join Wayne Rooney atop the goal-scoring charts for England? An impressive record of only 3 misses from his 19 penalties. Hugo Lloris knows him well. Lloris had actually saved Robert Lewandowski's penalty in the second round, but had to have the penalty retaken after he went a bit too far forward. So Lloris will probably want to guard himself. This could very well be England's opportunity to get back into the game. It's Kane against Lloris, the 2 Tottenham Hotspur teammates, now opposing captains. Getting ready to take it. And still some time being taken. You could say that it was justice in a way for the missed penalty shout in the first half. But who else but Harry Kane to take England's penalties? The only question is, will Kane be able, or will Lloris deny him? Here we go. And he sends Hugo Lloris the wrong way, smacks it emphatically into the top right-hand corner, and England are level, and Harry Kane now has goal number 53 for his country. Joint top alongside Wayne Rooney. Well, it just had to be the England captain. It's his second goal in the tournament, and what a time to score it. Lloris was committed to diving to his left, but struck that brilliantly to Lloris's right. Wasn't quite the top corner, into the middle of the net, but even if Lloris had gone the right way, I do not believe he would have gotten that. So, England won, France won. Game on at the Al Bayt Stadium. Yes, get in, indeed. And so how do France respond? It's got all the makings of those classic rugby games between these two countries. And certainly there's a lot of feistiness involved. But at the moment it is with Rabiot, who's alone. And how important the save was that from Pickford, pushing it away to his left, and that will be cleared by Harry Maguire. So almost immediately, England are under the cosh, and they have to be careful. Bellingham can clear that, though, and it is with Harry Kane, who will try and send that forward. And he's taken that out of play, though, on the left. And that will be a France throw. So immediately there, you can see spaces right in between the defence, and maybe if Rabiot had run a little bit further, and it was the first time shot, really, so he couldn't get any kind of strength on that. Still an important save. And Southgate telling his players, keep your head switched on. Do not switch off at any time. You've worked so hard to get back on level terms. Do not lose it now. And so England are going forward through Phil Foden on the left. Back to Kane. And it is with Mbappe now. And how do France respond? Well, it's Mbappe against Walker, and that sudden turn of pace has proved too hot for Walker, passing it through, and, well, Giroud had the chance to get on the end of that, but he couldn't, and Griezmann trying to pass it back into the penalty area, but Jordan Henderson will clear that easily enough. Back with Bellingham now, who's sent Phil Foden on his way, but will Foden get to that? Sadly, no, he won't. It's all happening out there. And just going to take a look at this replay. You can see just how fit Mbappe is. And seeing Walker trying to get to him, that injection of pace has been absolutely brilliant. But I think Giroud ended up running a bit too far forward and just couldn't get to that. And I think Deschamps is now going to have to respond very quickly by yanking off Giroud and maybe bringing on someone like a Kingsley Coman who can get into positions well enough. I do seem to remember when France won in '98, despite having the likes of David Trezeguet and Christophe Dugarry in their squad, the then coach Aimé Jacquet insisted on playing Stéphane Guivarc'h on his own up front. And we all know that Guivarc'h, during that tournament, was not at all at his best. Deschamps, of course, knows that too well because he was the captain of that team. Maguire, Shaw, back to Pickford, Stones, Saka, headed on by Rabiot, and hoping to find Giroud right now, who tries to lay that for Mbappe, but Walker has other ideas, and that will go out for an England goal kick. So the England fans were silenced by that Tchouaméni goal, but they've now rediscovered their voice, and you can hear them singing in the stands right now. Confirmation that Harry Kane has joined Wayne Rooney at the top of the England goal-scoring charts. One more goal will take him beyond. And it's interesting to see how this match features both countries' all-time top goal scorers. Giroud, of course, is on his own at the top with 52, having overtaken Thierry Henry. But could Kane have a second goal tonight and take him beyond Wayne Rooney? Who knows? At the moment, England have to defend. Upamecano. Tchouaméni. Upamecano passes it back to Lloris, who controls that well enough and sends that forward. Hoping to find Griezmann, but Shaw was actually there ahead of him. And Maguire sends that back to Pickford now. Stones. Rice. Henderson. Saka. Rice. To Maguire. Sort of strolling with that, if you will. Finds Bellingham, who passes it back to Stones. Finds Saka on his own in the centre. And Saka's allowed to run. Does he score another penalty? Not this time. A weak shot towards Lloris, who almost spills that, but ends up gathering it at the second attempt. So we are coming up to the hour mark, and it'll be interesting to see what type of substitutions either manager will bring on, because neither of them, of course, have made any substitutions at half-time. Antoine Griezmann now with the ball, lays it off for Mbappe, and Bellingham was sticking to him like glue. It's with Dembele now on the right, trying to cut in. Stones is able to clear that, and that goes out for a throw. It's with Dembele now. And Bellingham is once again not allowing him to go through. But Dembele is twisting Bellingham around. Finds Mbappe now, hoping to find Rabiot, but that was blocked. And now Bellingham can come away. It's 3 against 4 now for England. And Foden is on his own on the left. And this could be promising for England if they're lucky enough. Lays it back for Bellingham. Henderson. Saka. Henderson. Back to Saka. Saka up against Hernandez. And Saka's certainly had won his fair share of duels, but Hernandez has looked good too. Captain Kane. Another shot. A tame shot this time with his left foot. And once again, Hugo Lloris gathers. I think both managers are probably going to wait until the 70th minute to make a substitution or two. But it wouldn't surprise me if Deschamps brings off Giroud, who has been kept quiet tonight. Varane. Tchouaméni. Hernandez. Chouameni. Koundé. Dembele. Doing some good work taking it forward, but Shaw's there to clear. Foden now to Bellingham. Back to Foden. And England have certainly had more attempts on target, but only the penalty to show for it. That's how good a game Lloris has had tonight. And that will be a foul and a free kick to England. And the Brazilian referee making it very clear that he's not taking any nonsense from anyone. Glad you agree. They are looking good. I think it's fair to say that England have so far given France a run for their money, and certainly that penalty has helped them, get back on level terms and maybe start to get a foothold in this game. I think defensively they've also looked a lot tighter. So what does Didier Deschamps do? With England being in the ascendancy right now, at least marginally, I'm not too sure that Southgate needs to make any substitutions. I certainly can't think of any player who's had a sort of a poor game. Not even Bellingham or Foden, who have now come into this game in the second half. Harry Kane, headed out by Koundé, and now it's with Griezmann, who can go forward. And some good work there by Declan Rice, but it will be a French throw. And Chouameni being harassed by Henderson there and wins a free kick, which is taken quite quickly. Rabiot now. Finding Hernandez. A lot of us have predicted that there would be goals in this game, but so far, aside from Chouameni's wonder strike and that Harry Kane penalty, hasn't quite materialized. There have been threats, though. Koundé. Dembele. Dembele sending it forward, but no one's on the end of that. And that'll be a goal kick. So the biggest danger, of course, is when play starts to peter out a little bit. And it will be interesting to see what both managers will do. Crucially enough, while Mbappe has made some good runs, he hasn't really had a shot at goal yet. And we all know if he's given space and time to shoot, watch out. Pickford sending that long. He's left-handed and left-footed. Harry Kane to Saka. What a game he's had. Appeal for a foul on Saka, but the referee waves play on, and Saka is disgusted with that decision. France end up winning a free kick themselves. It's with Griezmann now. Chouameni, who was fouled for that free kick. Hernandez. Actually, that's Mbappe. My bad. Back to Chouameni. Sending it forward. And again, Giroud is unable to get on the end of that. We're at the 65-minute mark. And still no more goals. And I think it's fair to say that in stretching to try and get that ball, Giroud might have hurt himself. Saka's also on the floor, clearly claiming that he had been fouled earlier on, but the referee wasn't willing to take notice of that. And interestingly, there's no claim of a push there by Maguire on Giroud. Not too sure that there was to begin with. And clearly you could see the anger on Saka's face as he was brought down, but the referee waved play on, and so we continue. Huge goal kick from Pickford, finds Kane, but no one's on the end of Kane's header except Theo Hernandez, who sends that forward. That's headed back by John Stones. Actually, that was Maguire who headed that forward, and it is now with John Stones. Declan Rice, kept in play by Henderson. Receives that from Kyle Walker, sends it back to Kyle Walker. Passes it to Stones. Walker. Pickford. Certainly does have a very powerful goal kick, but Only sends that to his French counterpart, Hugo Lloris. You can see the anxiety on the faces of the England supporters. One thing I'll say about England is that under Southgate, they've certainly looked to be a team that still have it in them to find a late winner from somewhere. And certainly, if Rashford were to be brought on, it could materialise. But at the moment, England have some defending to do. It's with Mbappe from Hernandez, who won that on the left. Hernandez is now on the left again and can still continue. Interplay between him and Mbappe. It's Mbappe versus Saka. Mbappe sends that forward to Dembele, but I think Dembele was caught in two minds as to whether to try and go for goal himself or send that back. In the end, he sent that back. And that'll be a France throw. So you see the pendulum swinging as we now come to the halfway point of the second half. The midway point, I should say. Upamecano. Rabiot. Hernandez, unable to control that, and Saka will gladly let that go out for a goal kick. So, it's coming up to substitution time. Both managers need to start throwing their dice. Or die. Yep, dice is plural. My bad. Southgate looking on. He knows that, of course, with England on level terms, he doesn't have too much to worry about. But as the game ticks away, I'm sure he will not want to see this go to extra time or penalties. And a poor foul there on Bukayo Saka, who this time gets his reward. And the guilty party there being the left-back Theo Hernandez, sort of wrestling him to the ground, really. A move that you would expect on the rugby field, except we're not playing rugby. This isn't Six Nations or World Cup rugby. It's World Cup football. Coming up to 69 minutes. England fans are expectant. They believe, in the words of the re-released song, that it's coming home for Christmas. We'll have to see. It's Henderson and Saka who's standing over this, so interesting to see which one of them takes it. It could very well be Saka, who does possess a sweet left foot. Left-footed from the right. Actually, it's Henderson who takes that. Right-footed. And that was a brilliant header from Harry Maguire, which was just wide of Hugo Lloris's post. And he knows just how close he was to giving England the lead. Brilliant free kick. I was expecting that it would be Saka. No offside from the looks of it. Getting that header on almost on target. Credit to Hugo Lloris for having it covered, but it sort of spun away from him, really. And it was sort of going pretty much onto the post. The keeper did probably have it covered. But still, that was a chance, and we're now on the 70-minute mark. 20 minutes to go until extra time. Will one of these teams find a winner? Or will we endure more extra time and possibly penalties? We've already seen two of these quarterfinals go to penalties. I'm not too sure I could personally tolerate a third one. And if it's penalties, England fans remember the Euro final. But in the penalty area with Luke Shaw, blocked by Koundé, and France can clear their lines through Dembele. But it is back in the France half, and the danger is only half cleared in a way, because England can still attack. Stones, Walker, Maguire, Shaw, down the left. Gets it into the penalty area, and that was Saka who was on the end of that. And normally, so prolific with a chance like that, that chance went begging. But we're going to see right now if there's some defensive work by Hernandez, and it looks as though Hernandez got the final touch to that, which means that could be a corner. Yeah, and actually, from the looks of it, came off Hernandez's knee, so that's some good defending. Well, it didn't come off his knee because a goal kick's been given. So some good pressure from Hernandez there, and I think Saka knows that he should have done better with that. Certainly hit the target at the very least. Lloris sends that forward. This has been a fine game, end-to-end football. It started off being a little bit cagey, and offside there against, I believe that was Griezmann, and that will be an England free kick. A replay of that chance. I think the spin sort of took that away. And instead of having his head in his hands, Southgate is applauding his players. Maguire knows that he was close, and he certainly put a lot of beans into that shot. Yeah, love the banter going on. Chelsea fan, give it to him, give it to him. And Deschamps obviously signalling to his players, get a move on. But defensively, they've certainly tightened up and haven't been able to give Mbappe or even Giroud a sniff. And so coming up to 73 minutes, I think substitutions will be in order. The only problem is who'll be the first to make them. Bellingham down the left. Finds Shaw, who can certainly try and send that forward. Into the penalty area, headed away by Hernandez. And Henderson can shepherd that away for an England throw. Bellingham's in the penalty area. And another claim for a penalty. And Bellingham's not happy. Well, I think the referee was spot on when he awarded the penalty for the foul on Saka. Pamecano again, riding his luck. Tchouaméni. Koundé. Griezmann can now take it forward, despite Rice's intentions. Sends it to Dembele, who cannot get that or control that, and that will be a throw-in. And now we see some substitutes warming up. Looks like Mason Mount could be primed to come on. No sign of Grealish or Rashford as of yet, but England certainly need a goal. And could it be Bellingham who comes off? Yep, we're seeing the first substitution. It is, in fact, Mason Mount who's getting ready to come on, just stripping himself off his training gear and putting on his shirt. Sending that forward to Dembele, who's twisted around Stones and sends that in. No one's on the end of that, almost acrobatically cleared, but it is with Tchouaméni. Rabiot. Tchouaméni now, on the left this time. Back to Hernandez. Sending it in, and a wild header that from Giroud, who knows that he's been off colour. And that will be a goal kick. I don't even think it touched Giroud's head at all. It did. So, 15 minutes left. Stoppages included, and possible claim for a penalty there for a push by Luke Shaw on Giroud, but the referee wasn't interested in that. England 1, France 1. Harry Maguire running up. Luke Shaw into the penalty area now. Jude Bellingham on the left. In and out. Can he go back in? Well, Shaw was certainly crossing it back in, but that was headed away. And it's with Mbappe now, who has been certainly closed down more effectively by Kyle Walker and Jordan Henderson this half. Not gotten a sniff. But Hernandez passes that to Tchouaméni, sending that through to Griezmann, who's certainly been a lot more sedate in comparison to the first half. I think another booking could be fatal for him. Rabiot gives that to Mbappe, who's able to get that back to Rabiot through Saka. Into the penalty area, Dembele on the end of that, and Giroud. And finally, he gets a shot on target, but it is saved by Pickford, who is going ballistic at his defenders. Well, it's taken Giroud a little bit long enough, and thanks to Hernandez and Dembele, I think it's fair to say that he never really got into the position he wanted. Giroud is also left-footed, and I think that was a little bit of an awkward-looking strike. Certainly within Pickford's range, and Pickford had to make the save. It will be a French corner, though, with about 13 minutes to go. Taken by Griezmann, left-footed, swinging away. No one on the end of that, and that's cleared. But Hernandez back to Griezmann, who can certainly swing it in again. And it is Olivier Giroud. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. I remember saying that Deschamps should take him off. But just when I thought that things were going swimmingly for England, that man pops up and sticks a knife right into English hearts. And could this be the last we see of England at this World Cup? Well, the corner wasn't exactly effective, but never ever underestimate the work of Theo Hernandez and Antoine Griezmann. Griezmann with that inch-perfect cross, Giroud on the end of that, getting himself away from his marker, Harry Maguire, and burying it right into the net. Pickford had no chance with that. Wasn't able to get up, sort of leaden-footed there, really. I think that might actually go down as a Harry Maguire own goal, given that he was the last person to get that. But at the moment, Chelsea fan has confirmed the score. It is 2-1 to France, and England now have a little over 11 minutes left to save their tournament. Goal number 53 for Giroud. The only difference between him and Kane is that while Kane is joint top with Wayne Rooney, Olivier Giroud is all on his own, and he will seldom score a more important goal than that. So Gareth Southgate, all eyes on you. What do you do? Do you bring on a substitute? Do you take off maybe Saka, who's run himself into the ground, and bring on Marcus Rashford? Or Grealish? Do you take off Phil Foden for Rashford? Maybe give Bellingham a rest. I know that Bellingham is primed to be given a rest, and some substitutions have been made. There's Jordan Henderson and Bukayo Saka who are coming off, and Mason Mount and Raheem Sterling who have just come on. Sterling, of course, had left the England squad following a burglary at his home back in England, but he rejoined the squad not too long afterwards, bringing his family with him. And so now he's brought on at a better time, at no better time really, because there are now 10 minutes for England to save their campaign. A penalty claim over there, but the Brazilian referee says nothing doing. And England can break, and France can break again. Well, France have made another substitution of their own, and they have brought on Kingsley Coman for Dembele. So Mount, who's just come on into the action, barged aside by Theo Hernandez there, and certainly looked to be a poor barge, but well, there could be a check of that penalty. It could very well be another penalty. And this time the referees will be looking at that. And Giroud and Rice getting in a little bit of a tussle. If VAR decree that is a penalty, well, the referee's gone to the VAR screen and he could very well award a second penalty to England. Another chance for Harry Kane to become a hero. Yeah, on second viewing, that was definitely a very poor barge there. And certainly with an attempt to deny a goal-scoring opportunity. Could it even be a sending off for Theo Hernandez? We will have to see. Could very well be written into the... well, he has awarded the penalty. And another chance for Harry Kane to make history. So just after coming on, Mason Mount leaves an impact. And I'm not too sure why Bellingham's protesting at the referee. The penalty has been awarded. And it's a yellow card for Theo Hernandez for that ill-timed barge. Cynical at best. And so with 8 minutes to go, Harry Kane will have another albeit at the cherry. A chance to take him well above Wayne Rooney in the list of England's all-time goal scorers. I mean, clearly Hernandez knew what he was doing, and that was a pretty poor challenge, that. And so England's dream could still be alive. Who knows? It is telling, of course, that England's only goal has not been from open play. And if they score this one, it will not be from open play either. But I'm sure the England fans will not complain, because it doesn't matter how you score as long as you score. And Harry Kane, just when we thought that Harry Kane wouldn't take a more important penalty than the one he took early in the second half, late in the second half with 7 minutes to go, this will be even more important. And so, he's up against his club teammate, Hugo Lloris. If he scores, bedlam will ensue. Cool, calm and collected, not flinching. Eyes on the target. Here we go! And he's blasted it over! He's blasted it over. History was beckoning for Harry Kane. Had he scored, he would have gone to the number 1 in the charts. The chance to tie it all up to save England's World Cup campaign, and he blasted it over. And Southgate has seen enough. The tears are starting to flow. Certainly had the right idea of placement, but just skied that a bit too high. And you can see the fans are starting to despair once again. And Marcus Rashford is getting ready to come on. A breathlessly late substitution, really. And Phil Foden, in fact, has been withdrawn. Not really had his best game in England's shirt, and it is Marcus Rashford who will be entrusted with the responsibility of trying to save England. And of course, a lot of us England fans will have memories of Euro 2016 when Roy Hodgson brought Rashford on with 5 minutes to go against Iceland. Fat lot of good that did us. An embarrassing and humiliating exit from that tournament. And it brought about Gareth Southgate, and the rest is history. So, 5 minutes to go. France 2, England 1. England 1, France 2. Whichever way you read it. England are 5 minutes away from going out of the World Cup. And a foul there on Koundé, I believe. And you can see Bellingham with his head in his hands. Bellingham has certainly had a fine tournament for England so far, but he's been comparatively kept quiet. Sliding in there, tripping up Koundé, he can have no real complaints. But France are certainly not out of the woods just yet. If this World Cup has taught us anything, it's that you've got to play to the whistle, and it will never be over until it's over. And that free kick was sent all the way into the English penalty area, but that was cleared effectively enough. And Walker now tripped up by Giroud, and that will be an England free kick. Sticking his leg out there, catching Walker on his knee. That is not the way. And a replay of that penalty. And the normally reliable Kane was not able. And you can see how much that means. But Look, don't lose hope. Again, as I've told you, depending on how much stoppages will be added, and there will be plenty this time around, we could certainly see a comeback. We've seen breathlessly late equalizers, breathlessly late winners. You just cannot, I repeat, cannot discount anything. And talking about the pressures applied, Griezmann and Dembele, with 122 between them, have been outstanding. 63 for Griezmann alone. But England do have a free kick. It's closer to the halfway line than England would like, but Mason Mount to take it. Across the field, into the penalty area, finding the head of Maguire, and Giroud, back on defensive duties, can clear that. France attempting to clear their lines. Bellingham trying to claim a throw, but instead it goes the way of France. And you can see the frustration on Bellingham, who's had a magnificent tournament for England. Certainly one of the heroes, but it's just not working at the moment. Throw by Koundé. Rashford sends it forward, but it's headed back. And it's with Bellingham now, who can try and take it forward. Across the field to Mason Mount, who can certainly have space to run and space to shoot, but that was rising, that was high, and not all handsome. 2 minutes to go, plus stoppages. 2 minutes plus stoppages for England to pull a rabbit out of the hat and save their World Cup campaign. Had the space and the time to shoot, but just couldn't prevent that from rising. So it might not be coming home for Christmas. And could this potentially be the last we see of Gareth Southgate as England manager? I think credit to France. They've certainly stuck at their task and done quite well. And the frustration's boiling over. A yellow card now for Harry Maguire. I think certainly, despite a few questionable decisions, the Brazilian referee has had decent control of the game. And it's a yellow card for Harry Maguire, who's put his hand right into the back of Griezmann's head, and that's certainly quite painful. The beans have not been spilt quite yet, but at the moment now, there's 30 seconds to go before the end of normal time, and we will find out how much time will be added on. Sent it to the penalty area, headed on by Giroud to Mbappe, but Stones had him covered. Kyle Walker now to try and send this one long. Well, it finds Sterling, but Sterling does win it back. Credit to him. Titanic battle there between the two number 10s, Sterling and Mbappe. And Mbappe ends up winning a free kick. So a positive finish to normal time for France. And Rabiot is now down, clutching his thigh. And there will be 8 minutes of time added on. 8 minutes of hope for England. 8 minutes of agony for France. And as long as there's time, there's still hope. At the moment, though, it's Griezmann with the free kick. Another left footer. Swinging it into the penalty area. You can see the tears starting to fall from the England fans, but they have to hope. Into the penalty area. Headed away by Rashford. Rabiot heads it back in. More head tennis going on. And it's back at the halfway line through Theo Hernandez from Upamecano. Hernandez heads it on. Mbappe runs. It's Mbappe against Walker. I'm not too sure he'll want to waste time with that. Twisting Walker around sideways. Sterling comes to Walker's aid, and that goes begging. But Declan Rice now being surrounded by Giroud. Giroud harrying Rice, and that will be sent long by Walker. Rashford now with the ball, laying it to Kane. Luke Shaw. Into the second minute of the 8 added on. Into the penalty area. And did Lloris get a hand to that? Well, the corner being awarded says yes, he did. So there is still hope for England, and England can still pull a rabbit out of the hat. Marcus Rashford, since coming on, has made himself very useful indeed. Rashford putting Lloris under a bit of pressure. And with Foden now off, it will be Luke Shaw to take this corner. Still no sign of Jackie Grealish. Shaw with the corner, left-footed, in-swinger. And that is headed away by Upamecano. It's with Sterling now. To his former club teammate, Kyle Walker. They were, of course, together at Manchester City. Bellingham. Shaw. Sterling. Sterling can send it into the penalty area, but Lloris can claim that quite comfortably. And there will still not be enough, there is still enough time for either team to get a chance, and Lloris will have to be very careful that he doesn't waste too much time with that. Keep the faith, Chelsea fan. Keep the faith. And there was Coman who was trying to get into the action there, but was sort of beaten to it. And Coman has now conceded, the throw. Well, a lot of the subs from France are claiming that that should be a France throw, and in fact it is a France throw. So the substitute Coman doing some good work there. Koundé to take it. That's headed back towards Maguire by Shaw. Gets it to John Stones. Kyle Walker up against Mbappe, and Walker wins. Trying to get through Griezmann and Mbappe and sends it to Sterling on the right. Sterling can send it forward, but Hernandez gets his head to that. And that is sent forward by Hernandez. Good job clearing the lines there. And Stones receives it. And it is now with Declan Rice. 4 minutes played, 4 minutes left. Can England score, or will it be England no more? Bellingham to Sterling from the centre to the right. Sterling against Rabiot. He's looked good since coming on, has Sterling. Headed into the penalty area, but that should be headed away quite comfortably. But it is back with Luke Shaw. Maguire certainly has a good cross on him. Shaw sends it into the penalty area, but Lloris once again can claim that quite easily. And he's only conceded a penalty tonight, made more than a few important saves, and has certainly had the better game of it tonight than Pickford, who's been now beaten twice. And you can see the contrast in emotions. The French fans believe with every second ticking away, the hope is draining away for England, but there is still time. A foul on John Stones, clutching his foot. And I must give credit to Antoine Griezmann, who was, of course, booked in the first half, but he has since then been sedate, and certainly his work in the second goal for France should not be forgotten. Hard to consider who the man of the match would be. Certainly Griezmann has looked really good. Mbappe and Giroud, of course, have been kept quiet all game, and Giroud was quiet. I was thinking that Giroud would be yanked off, but then he scored that goal and then shoved my words back down my throat. The seconds are ticking away, and it will remain to be seen if any more seconds will be added on, because there are stoppages. The French are jubilant. They're dancing. But it isn't over until it's over. And as we can see, Stones is still on the floor being attended to by the physio. It could very well be that he'll be brought off. And now we see Jackie Grealish coming on. If I thought the substitution of Rashford coming on was outrageously late, this is even worse. I really cannot imagine what Grealish can do in this short time, although one would think that there will be 2 minutes added on for this particular stoppage here. Whenever in doubt, send on Grealish. What he was thinking by bringing on Mason Mount, I will never know. And it will, of course, be a drop ball in the centre, and I think the substitution will be made. It will be John Stones who might be coming off. 9.7 kilometres run, 3 clearances, a good stint from him. And now, of all times, with barely a minute to go, we see the number 7, Jackie Grealish. Well, Grealish, of course, was England's super sub during the Euros and certainly played a magnificent role in getting them to the final. And of course, he was able to score England's 6th goal in their thumping win over Iran. Unfortunately, unless England are able to conjure up some magic in the next 2 minutes, that could pretty much be Grealish's only contribution in the tournament. And once again, as in the Euro final, it could very well be Southgate's lack of trust in Grealish that lets England down. But England are now in the France half. Declan Rice, Raheem Sterling, twisting Mbappe around, getting it to Rashford. Rice. Into the penalty area, headed away by Giroud. It is Maguire now of all people, and that will be a free kick outside the penalty area, but in definitely dangerous territory. So, could we see an England equaliser here? We've gone past the 8 minutes allotted, and I've said that there would be more time added. We could very well see the game go beyond 10 minutes in this half. And of course, this was more or less the time that Wout Weghorst scored that cheeky, gutsy equaliser against Argentina, which took the game into extra time, only for Emiliano Martinez to break the Dutch hearts with 2 penalty saves, and of course, Lautaro Martinez sending them out once and for all. And now that he's come on, it could very well be that Marcus Rashford takes this free kick. He scored a peach against Wales in the group stages. With Kieran Trippier not on the side, others have stepped up to the plate with regard to free kicks and set pieces. People have mocked him all season, calling him Trashford. I've always rated him, though. And could it be second time around? Danny Ward made a fatal mistake for Wales by going to his right before being beaten on his left. Does Lloris make that same mistake, or does he trust his wall? It's Rashford from outside the area, coming up to 10 minutes in the half. 10 minutes of added time, rather. Over the wall and over the goal. And it certainly wasn't far off, but he knows that he was that close to rescuing England. Powerful free kick, but that nestled quite safely on top. And is that England's last chance? Well, the question has been answered. That was England's last chance, and the tears are flowing. And England's tournament once again ends in tears, while France go through. Giroud consoling his mates. Consoling some of the England players, of course, but the French team in the middle of the field getting into a celebratory jig. And confirmation of this result. France will face Morocco in the semi-finals of the World Cup after a hard-fought 2-1 win. Smiles all around for Didier Deschamps' men. And for Gareth Southgate in England, it's another heartbreaking exit. A semi-final, a final, and a quarter-final. Magnificent returns for England in his short stint. And the sight of Jackie Grealish standing alone in the centre circle says it all. How do you bring a player like him on with barely seconds to go? Even considering that there would have been 2 minutes added, you don't do that. And England had their chances. A missed penalty from Harry Kane. And at the very end, with Marcus Rashford, a chance to possibly score and send it into extra time, went begging. So once again, this is the link. I will be on for the next few minutes or so with commentary, more analysis. And if any of you want to join in and have a chat, just click this link or copy and paste it into your browser. Once again, it is streamyard.com/whiskey, Bravo, Golf, Hotel, Foxtrot, Bravo, Uniform, Quebec, Sierra, Charlie. Southgate should go. And I think seeing the way he criminally brought on Grealish with seconds to go, I probably would agree. It could have been all songs in the street. It was almost complete. It was almost so sweet. And now I'm singing 3 lines on a shirt. Jewels remain still gleaming. 4 more years of hurt. Never stopping dreaming. 2026 will, of course, be 60 years since 1966. Coming up to 60 years of hurt. But it is what it is. And again, if any of you are in the chat, any of you would like to have your say, just keep commenting. I'm still here for the next few minutes trying to digest it all. My phone is going crazy with a lot of text messages. And you can see I'm a little bit emotional, but I'm sort of trying to, control it. And that is harsh, Hanno. That is harsh. You should know better. But fair play. I suppose on the, I would agree with Chelsea fan that on the balance of play, France were at least marginally the better team, and certainly when it came to attacking intent. But England did have their chances, just couldn't quite take them. And the fact that their only goal was from a penalty pretty much says it all. Hugo Lloris had to make 2 or 3 important saves tonight. And he certainly picked the best occasion to come into some better form, regardless of, notwithstanding the poor form or the questionable form that he's been in at Tottenham Hotspur. Certainly, he stepped up to the plate in his world record 143rd appearance for the France national team, and will certainly go down as one of his country's all-time greats. Probably ahead, at least marginally, of Fabien Barthez, who played in 3 World Cups for France and made 17 appearances. Lloris has certainly been a huge part of France's fortunes going forward. His 4th World Cup. And his journey continues. As for England, where do they go from here? Well, I think Southgate will look back on this game and probably realise that maybe they should have done more to keep Antoine Griezmann quiet. And certainly Aurelien Tchouameni had a fine game, capped, of course, with that goal. And I think the defence just went to sleep for that Giroud goal, basically allowing him the space to sort of come right in and just, make himself seen and heard. Losing his marker there, Harry Maguire, who was on Giroud duty. And that was one occasion where the baked beans and toasted soldiers couldn't really come to his rescue. Foden probably had I'd say a quiet game, if not a disappointing game. And Bellingham certainly was getting into the groove as the game went on. And yeah, see you next time, mate. As always, thanks a lot for coming on these streams and offering your encouragement. And once again, I will be on for the next few minutes, but I will be switching it off very soon. So again, if there's anyone backstage, I don't know if there's anyone backstage, but if anyone wants to come on, here's a link. Just come on and have your say. But I'm certainly not going to be here for very long. Henderson and Rice. Rice looked a little bit quiet, but certainly that was, befitting his role, really. And Henderson, of course, was his influential best on the right side of the midfield, linking up beautifully with Saka. And the defense also certainly did what they had to do until the Giroud winner. But as it stands, of course, this is the result that matters. I think Harry Kane will look back on that penalty miss, that chance to make history. I remember when Gary Lineker was given a friendly against Brazil and had his chance to tie Bobby Charlton atop the charts. Lineker finished his career on 48 goals, while Bobby Charlton had 49. And his weak penalty was saved by the Brazilian keeper that day. So you could see a distraught-looking Sol Campbell, who predicted that the Lions would chew up the cockerel. But in the end, it's the cockerel that ends up crowing. And Robert Pires is sitting over there, certainly with a big grin on his face. Not a very big grin, but certainly a grin nonetheless. And his team march on to the semi-finals, where they will play Morocco, who also know quite a bit about the French system, with more than a few of their players having played in that league. In fact, Hakimi himself is with Paris Saint-Germain, so this will be another terrific clash for him. And those semi-finals are, of course, coming up next week. And France can certainly look forward to a good semi-final. It should be an interesting clash. And England, all they can do is just applaud their supporters while France pay tribute to theirs. The French tricolours are waving proudly. The England supporters are deflated, but I'm sure they'll be willing to. And now we see the French players running towards their supporters again, jumping for joy, if you will. Everyone, the first teamers, the squad members, everyone's united. And Giroud patting the cockerel on his chest. Goal number 53 for him on his own at the very top. What a career he's had for France. And his World Cup continues. And you can see right now that unlike previous France squads, the unity in this team is simply unparalleled. And I can think of one other person who's had a bad day today. Piers Morgan has already seen Cristiano Ronaldo exit the tournament at the quarterfinal stage. Seeing England leave now. I can't take any joy from seeing England exit, and I will never take any joy. More than anyone else, as much as anyone else, I wanted them to beat France, but I think this French team certainly have the know-how and experience to handle these big World Cup games. They couldn't quite do it in the Euros, of course, but today they were just the more experienced team, superior team in a way, slightly. We now see a glum Wayne Rooney talking. I think a lot of the predictions about England winning this game have pretty much been smashed. France have just had more of the know-how. England have certainly contributed to this game by, rushing and harrying and creating more than a few chances, especially down the right where Saka and Henderson were outstanding. I think in contrast, as I said, Foden was a little bit quiet. Bellingham was growing into the game as the game went on, and the tears of Harry Kane. Only his fourth penalty miss for England, but probably the most galling penalty miss. Jude Bellingham in tears, being consoled by Aaron Ramsdale. Bellingham's had another magnificent tournament today. He was growing into the game. Foden had to be taken off, as had Saka. But the idea of bringing on Mason Mount instead of Grealish, I think a lot of us are going to look at that and see proof of how Southgate simply wasn't able to manage the game during the game. Before the game, his tactical lineups were spot on, but during the game, he's just lost control. And as it stands, France have now become the first defending champion since Brazil in 1998 to reach the semi-finals, because it's fair to say that the curse of being defending champions had struck teams in the past, and certainly with so many of their players, the likes of Karim Benzema and Presnel Kimpembe, among others, getting injured, many of us were thinking that the French train would be derailed, but not to be. They've recovered from those injuries. They put in the performances they needed to put in. Several of their unheralded players have stood up to make themselves count. Mbappe, Giroud, Griezmann and company have definitely, stood up when they needed to. Tchouaméni with the goal tonight certainly stood up. And of course, just as I was writing him off and saying he should be yanked off, that man, former Arsenal and Chelsea striker, Olivier Giroud, comes up to shove my words down my throat and strike a dagger into my heart and the hearts of many other England fans. I think England can go home with a few positives, but probably more regrets than positives. Their beautiful chance to bring it home, gone for good. But as for France, they can look forward to a semi-final against a Moroccan team that has definitely won a lot of hearts this tournament. And certainly in Yassine Bouno, they have the front runner for the Golden Glove. And just taking a look at that, I believe it was Harry Maguire who got the final touch of that. I just hope for Harry's sake that it won't go down as a Harry Maguire own goal. But now, of course, with England's tournament over, with the quarterfinals over, we now look to the semi-finals next week. And we will, of course, be bringing that to you on the Coach's Corner, either with myself or with Hanno. I've enjoyed bringing you coverage of this whenever I could. And this tournament has certainly been an amazing, intriguing tournament, all controversies aside. And it's been a pleasure to watch it and bring it all to you. So shout out to everyone who's come into the chat. Craig Malloy early on, Chelsea fan coming in later, and Diego Palace. Sadly, it's not coming home this time. We'll have to wait another 4 years, and a few more people coming in. But once again, thank you all for making these streams enjoyable. I've enjoyed lending my commentary and some analysis and trying to speak, talk my tongue off, if you will. I don't like it when these watch-alongs are just, watching the screen and then shouting and screaming and effing and blinding. I want to add a bit more to that, and I hope all of you can appreciate that. For the moment, though, this is the story. England out of the tournament, losing 2-1 to France. France will go on to face Morocco in the semi-finals next week, but England go home. It's not coming home. England are going home, and on that, I bid you adieu. Thanks a lot for joining in, as always. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy this, the rest of your Saturday evening, and have a good Sunday. There will be, of course, no games tomorrow, but there will be certainly plenty of review shows and preview shows, and I will hope to participate in some of them. Maybe you'll see me on this channel again. I don't know. Until then, take care of yourselves. Be safe. Be happy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And for now, from the Coach's Corner, this is Manny Thangadurai, and I am out.